The story of the Emperor's new clothes. Many years ago, there lived an emperor who was so fond of new clothes that he spent all of his money on them in order to be beautifully dressed. He did not care about his soldiers, nor did he care about the theater. He only liked to go out walking to show off his new clothes. He had a coat for every hour of the day, and just as they say of a king, he is in the council chamber. They always said, he is in his wardrobe. In the great city in which he lived, there was always something going on. Every day many strangers came through. One day, 2 impostors arrived and gave themselves out as weavers, and said that they knew how to manufacture the most beautiful cloth imaginable. Not only were the texture and pattern uncommonly beautiful, but the clothes which were made of the stuff possessed this wonderful property that they were invisible to anyone who was not fit for office, or who was unpardonably stupid. "These must indeed be splendid clothes," thought the Emperor. "If I had them on, I could find out which of my men in this kingdom are unfit for the offices they hold. I could distinguish the wise from the stupid. Yes, this cloth must be woven for me at once." And he gave both the impostors much money so that they might begin their work. They placed 2 weaving looms and began to do as if they were working, but they had not the least thing on the looms. They also demanded the finest silks and best gold, which they put into their pockets, and worked with the empty looms till late into the night. "I should very much like to know how far they've got on the cloth," thought the Emperor. But he remembered that when he thought about it, that whoever was stupid, not fit for his office, would not be able to see it. Now he certainly believed that he had nothing to fear for himself, but he wanted first to send somebody else in order to see how stood they regard in his office. Everybody in the whole town knew what a wonderful power the cloth had, and they were all curious to see how bad or how stupid each other were. "I will send my old and honored minister to the weavers," thought the Emperor. "He can judge best what the cloth is like, for he has intellect, and no one understands his office better than he." Now the good old minister went into the hall where the 2 impostors sat working at an empty weaving looms. "Dear me," thought the old minister, opening his eyes wide, "I can see nothing." But he did not say so. Both the impostors begged him to be so kind to step closer and asked him if it were not a beautiful texture and lovely colors. They pointed to the empty loom, and the poor old minister went forward, rubbing his eyes, but he could see nothing, because there was nothing there. "Dear, dear," he thought, "can I be stupid? I've never thought that, and nobody must know it. Can I not be fit for my office? No, I certainly must not, and cannot see the cloth." "Have you nothing to say about it?" said one of the men who was weaving. "Oh, it is lovely, most lovely," answered the old minister, looking through his spectacles. "What a texture, what colors! I will tell the Emperor that it pleases me very much." "Now we are delighted at that," said both the weavers. Thereupon they named the colors and explained the make of the texture. The old minister paid great attention so that he could tell the same to the Emperor when he came back to him, which he did. The impostors now wanted more money, more silk, and more gold to use in their weaving. They put it all in their own pockets, and there came no threads upon the loom, but they went on as if they had before, working at the empty loom. The Emperor soon sent another worthy statesman to see how the weaving was getting on, and whether the cloth would soon be finished. It was the same with him as with the first one. He looked and looked, but because there was nothing on the empty loom, he could see nothing. It's a beautiful piece of cloth, asked the impostors, and they pointed to it and described a splendid material, which there was not there. Stupid I'm not, thought the man. It must be so good office for which I cannot be fitted. It is strange, certainly, but no one must be allowed to notice it. And so he praised the cloth, which he did not see, and expressed to them his delight at the beautiful colors and the splendid texture. Yes, it is quite beautiful, he said to the emperor. Everybody in town was talking about the magnificent cloth. Now the emperor wanted to see it himself while it was still in the loom. With a great crowd of select followers, amongst whom were both the worthy statesmen who had already been there before, he went to the cunning impostors, who were now weaving with all their might, but without fibre or thread. "Is it not splendid?" both the statesmen who had already been there said. "See, Your Majesty, what a beautiful texture! What colors!" And then they pointed to the empty loom, for they believed that the others could not see the cloth so well. "What?" thought the emperor. "I can see nothing. This is indeed horrible. Am I stupid? Am I not fit to be emperor? That could be the most dreadful thing that could ever happen to me." "Oh, it is very beautiful," he said. "It has my gracious approval." And then he nodded pleasantly and examined the empty loom, for he would not say that he could not see anything. His whole court around him looked and saw no more than the others. But they said, like the emperor, "Oh, it is beautiful," and they advised him to wear these new and magnificent clothes for the first time at a great procession which was soon to take place. "Splendid, lovely, most beautiful," went from mouth to mouth. Everyone seemed delighted over them, but the emperor gave the impostors the title of Court Weavers of the Emperor. Throughout the whole of the nights before the morning on which the procession was to take place, the impostors were up and were working by the light of over 16 candles. The people could see that they were very busy making the emperor's new clothes ready. They pretended that they were taking the cloth off the loom, and cut with huge scissors in the air, sewing with needles without thread, and then at last said, "Now the clothing is finished." The emperor came himself with the most distinguished knights, and each impostor held up his arm, just as if he were holding something, and said, "See, here are the breeches, here's the coat, and here's the cloak," and so on. Spun clothes are so comfortable that one could imagine one had nothing on at all, but that is the beauty of it. "Yes," said all the knights, but they could see nothing, for there was nothing there. "Will it please your majesty graciously to take off your clothes?" said the impostors. "Then we will put on the new clothes, before the mirror." The emperor took off all of his clothes, and the impostors placed themselves before him as if they were putting on each part of his new clothes, which was ready. And the emperor turned and bent himself in front of the mirror. "How beautifully they all fit! How well they sit!" said everyone. "Oh, its material! What colors! What a gorgeous suit!" "They're waiting outside with the canopy which your majesty is wont to have worn over you at the procession," announced the master of ceremonies. "Oh, look, I am ready," said the emperor. "Doesn't it sit well?" And he turned himself again in the mirror, as if his finery was all on right. The chamberlains, who were used to carry the train, put their hands near the floor as if they were lifting up the train. Then they did as if they were holding something in the air. They would not have noticed that they could not see anything. The emperor went along with the procession under the splendid canopy, and all the people in the streets and windows said, "How matchless the emperor's clothes are! The train fastened to his dress, how beautifully it hangs!" No one wished to be noticed that they could not see anything, for then he would have been unfit for his office, or else very stupid. None of the Emperor's clothes had met with such approval as these had. "But he has nothing on," said a little child at last. "Just listen to the innocent child," said the father, and each one whispered to his neighbor what the child had said. "But he has nothing on," the whole of the people called out at last. This struck the Emperor, for it seemed to him as if they were right. But he thought to himself, "I must go on with the procession now." And the chamberlains walked along with more uprightly holding up of the train, which was not there at all.